The village square of Umupara was buzzing with excitement, not because of joy, but because of the spectacle unfolding. Amara, the beautiful daughter of a once-respected trader family, was getting married to a man everyone said was beneath her. Her white gown, borrowed from a cousin, was faded at the seams, with tiny tears near the waist. Her sandals were cracked, barely holding together. Beside her stood Chaik, her groom, in a suit 2 sizes too large, the sleeves nearly covering his hands. Villagers whispered loudly, not caring if she heard. "Ah, is this a wedding or a burial? She's too fine for that poor farmer. See her gown, even church choir girls dress better." Some laughed openly, their hands covering mouths dripping with gossip. Others shook their heads in pity, whispering, "Such beauty wasted." Amara's bridesmaids, dressed in mismatched ankara, exchanged embarrassed glances. Even her parents sat stiffly, regret shadowing their faces. They had hoped for a wealthier suitor, but fate tied her to Chaik. The food, goat meat soup served in enamel bowls, became another subject of mockery. Some guests refused to eat, sneering, "This wedding ain't a poverty conference." But through it all, Amara stood tall. Her eyes scanned the crowd. The same people who pitied her today would one day remember this wedding with shame. She whispered to herself as she held Chaik's trembling hand. One day they will bow where they mocked. Today they laugh, tomorrow they will fear. The priest pronounced them husband and wife, but the echo of laughter and pity rang louder than the church bells. After the wedding, Amara followed her husband to his home. She had known he was poor, but she hadn't expected this. A mud house stood before her, its zinc roof broken in places, water dripping from the edges. The floor was bare of, dusty and cracked. A raffia mat lay in the corner, serving as both bed and couch. "This is home," Chaik said softly, his voice laced with shame. Amara forced a smile, stepping inside. Chickens clucked in the corner. A smoky cooking pot sat on 3 stones. She inhaled deeply, steadying her heart. She had dreamed of love, not wealth, but even her love for Chaik couldn't erase the sting of humiliation. The next morning, she woke at dawn to fetch water from the stream. As she balanced a heavy clay pot on her head, 2 village women passed by, laughing. See Amara, the village princess, now a water girl. "If N.A. me, I go run back to my father's house. Suffer no day finish." Their words stabbed her, but she kept walking, her back straight. That night, lying on the raffia mat, she turned to Chaik and whispered, "Do not be ashamed, my husband. If we begin here, then here is where our greatness will rise." Chaik smiled faintly, kissing her hand. But in his eyes, she saw guilt. Guilt that he had dragged her into this life of lack. The marriage soon became the talk of the village. Chaik's sisters, proud and sharp-tongued, despised Amara. During family gatherings, one would sneer, "Ah, our brother has married a fine face, but see her clothes. Even market women shine more." Another would mutter, "Beauty cannot cook soup. She will soon tire of poverty." Amara sat quietly, swallowing her hurt. Even her parents visited one evening, eyes heavy with pity. "My daughter," her mother whispered, "was this truly your choice? You deserve more than this." Amara bowed her head, her lips trembling but firm. "Mama, don't pity me. What people despise today may be what they celebrate tomorrow." But their pity weighed heavier than insults. At night, she knelt by her raffia mat, tears streaming as she prayed. "God, they despise me. If they laugh at my fall, let them bow at my rise. Give me strength to carry this cross until you crown me." The more they mocked, the more her resolve grew. Somewhere in her spirit, she knew this suffering was not her end. It was only the soil where her crown would be planted. To support Chaik, Amara began selling cassava at the market. She tied her wrapper, balanced her basin, and walked through the scorching sun. At first, she thought her effort would earn respect, but instead, it invited more ridicule. One afternoon, as she arranged cassava tubers on the mat, 2 women nearby whispered loud enough for her to hear, "Isn't that Amara, the one who married the poor farmer?" "Yes. She was so beautiful, we thought she'd marry a rich man from the city. Look at her now, selling cassava like a commoner. She should be pitied, from flour to firewood." They laughed cruelly, and other traders joined in. Children mimicked her husband's stooped walk, calling him Chike the ragged farmer. Amora's hands trembled. For a moment, shame nearly drowned her. But instead of crying, she lifted her head high, arranging her goods with pride. One of the women hissed, "See her forming, madam. Pride with poverty." Amara ignored them, but deep inside, a fire lit. "If the world mocks me for being poor, I will fight until they envy me for being rich." That night, she told Chike, "Let them laugh. One day, they will choke on their laughter." Chike sighed, pressing her hand, but in his eyes she saw fear that her spirit might outgrow him. Everything changed the day Amora visited her neighbor's mill. She noticed leftover flour swept aside after grinding. Most women discarded it as waste. But Amora, curious, collected it and mixed it with water and yeast she had once seen her aunt use in the city. That night, a small loaf rose inside the clay oven. When Chike tasted it, his eyes widened. "Amara, this is sweeter than anything in the market." The next day, she baked a few loaves and carried them to the market. At first, traders mocked. "Bread in a village of Gary and Yam? Who will buy that?" But one child tasted it, then another. Soon, her tray was empty. Within a week, people began asking for more. She sold out every day, her hands covered in flour, her face glowing with purpose. For the first time since her wedding, she felt powerful. But her success also stirred envy. Women sneered, "So now she wants to be bakery madam." Yet they couldn't ignore how villagers flocked to her stall. Amora looked at her hands one night, white with flour, and whispered to herself, "These hands they mock for carrying cassava will one day carry crowns. This is only the beginning." Amora's bread began to spread across the village like wildfire. Every morning, the smell of fresh loaves rose from their clay oven, drawing neighbors and travelers alike. By midday, her tray was always empty. She bought more flour, recruited 2 young girls to help knead, and even started saving coins in a wooden box. Chike, at first, was proud, but slowly, whispers began reaching him. At the palm wine joint, drunken men laughed. "Ah, Chike, and your wife they feed you now, oh. Better respect yourself before she replace you with bread money." The word stung. Pride, like poison, filled his chest. That night, he sat outside, staring into the dark, calabash in hand. Amora approached, wiping flour from her face. "Come inside, my husband. Tomorrow is market day. I need your strength." Chike forced a smile but remained silent. Inside, jealousy warred with love. He adored Amora, but the village mocking his manhood was unbearable. Instead of telling her, he sought escape in palm wine. Amora noticed his distance. At night, as he turned his back on her, she whispered in her heart, "God, don't let my success destroy the man I love." The seeds of weakness had been planted, and soon they would sprout into something dangerous. By now, Amora's bread was not just food, it was talk. Villagers carried it to neighboring towns. Women who once mocked her now asked secretly for recipes, but Amora kept her secrets guarded. Then came the village festival. Wealthy wives strutted in lace, coral beads, and golden head wraps. Amora arrived in plain Ankara, still modest despite her earnings. She carried a basket of bread as her contribution. Whispers erupted immediately. Bread again? She no day tire. Even with money, she still dresses like market woman. Some laughed, others mocked openly, claiming she used juju to make people crave her bread. But in the crowd, one man from the city, a businessman named Chief Okafor, took notice. He tasted her bread and his eyes widened. "My day, do you supply to the city?" he asked. "No, sir. Only here," Amora replied humbly. "Then prepare yourself. City mouths are hungry for this kind of bread." While villagers mocked, destiny quietly opened its first big door. Amora smiled faintly to herself, even as laughter rang around her. Let them laugh, she thought. They don't know laughter can become ashes in the mouth. With encouragement from Chief Okafor, Amora began saving with a new purpose. She wanted a proper oven. Every coin she earned went into her wooden box. One evening, she sat with Chike, excited. My husband, if we buy a new oven, we can supply to shops. Imagine our bread in our bar, in Ori, maybe even Lagos. But Chaik frowned. Amara, don't rush. Too much dream can destroy a family. What if you fail? She touched his hand gently. And what if we succeed? Must we remain the family they pity? He looked away, unsure whether to support or resist. Within months, Amara had saved enough. She bought a small oven from a trader in town and built a shed beside their house. She hired 2 girls permanently and began producing loaves in dozens. When the first batch of packaged bread hit the market, it sold out instantly. Villagers who once mocked lined up at dawn to buy. Her name spread farther, but so did jealousy. Chaik, still struggling with his pride, wanted to prove he could also provide. Without telling Amara, he took a loan from a town moneylender. He used it to start a goat-rearing business, thinking it would outshine her bakery. At first, the goats thrived, and Chaik bragged at the palm wine joint. My wife is not the only one who knows business. Soon, people will call me Ogre Farmer. But weeks later, disease swept through the goats. One morning, Amara found him sitting in the pen, staring at lifeless animals. Chaik, what happened? He broke down, confessing. I wanted to be more Amara. I wanted the village to respect me too. But the worst part, the moneylender arrived the next day, demanding repayment with interest. Chaik had nothing. The man threatened to seize their mud house. Amara, though heartbroken, stepped forward. She dipped into her bakery savings and paid the debt in full. Whisper spread. Chaik's wife saved him. He is no man in a mole. Chaik's pride shattered. He withdrew deeper into shame. But Amara, instead of mocking him, whispered softly that night, Do not fear. We will rise together, even if I must carry us both. Despite her husband's failure, Amara pushed on. She branded her bread Queen's Loaf, a name she chose because she believed every poor man and woman deserved to eat like royalty. She invested in better packaging. Word spread to the next town, then the next. Soon, shop owners begged her for supplies. Her shed bakery could no longer contain demand. With her savings, she bought a piece of land near the roadside and started constructing a proper bakery. The villagers were stunned. The same people who once mocked now lined up, begging for jobs. During the opening day of the bakery, drums echoed through the village. Amara stood at the entrance, wearing a simple but elegant lace gown, greeting visitors with grace. One of the women who had mocked her wedding approached, head bowed. Amara, please forgive my words. If you can, give my son work. He has no job. Amara looked at her calmly, remembering the day they laughed at her torn wedding gown. But instead of revenge, she nodded. Bring him tomorrow. He will learn. In that moment, the tide shifted. Amara was no longer the pitted bride. She was becoming something greater, a queen in her own right. At dawn, the bakery yard looked like a small parade ground. Sacks of flour stacked neatly under a tarpaulin, trays of cooling loaves steaming in the crisp air, young women in aprons tying headscarves and laughing nervously. A line had already formed outside the wooden gate. Okada riders, teachers on their way to school, a nurse from the clinic, even the same market women who once sneered at Amara's torn wrapper. Good morning, Mama Ive, Amara greeted, handing the woman 2 hot loaves and branded sleeves that read Queen's Loaf. Your order is ready. Tell Ive I need her essay by Friday. Scholarship forms close next week. The woman blinked. Essay for scholarship. Yes, Amara smiled. For girls who want to stay in school. Bring it. Inside, she gathered the staff under a mango tree. Listen, this isn't just bread. It's dignity. We come early. We wash hands. We weigh flour properly. No shortcuts. Our code is simple. Clean work. Honest scales. Respect for customers. If we fail one, we've failed all. A timid apprentice, Ngozi, lifted a hand. Auntie, somebody at the market said they will undercut our price. Let them, Amara said gently. Price is a number. Trust is a crown. She turned to Chaik, who stood back in a clean but rumpled shirt. My husband, can you take the tricycle to deliver 15 loaves to the clinic and 10 to the school? Chaik forced a smile. I will. The word came out thin. The men at the palm wine shed had been louder lately. Your wife and a ogre now. Careful makes you no put you for apron. Shame had a taste, metallic, bitter. By noon, the bakery looked like a small cooperative. Amara signed receipts with a cheap biro, but her posture was regal. She paid vendors promptly, told apprentices to write their names for payroll, and set aside envelopes for 2 staff who had babies. When her mother-in-law shuffled in, chin high but eyes curious, Amara rose. "Good afternoon, Mama." "You are employing people?" the older woman asked, looking around in disbelief. 15 for now, Amara said. "If God helps us, more by Harmattan." She gestured to a chair. "Please sit. Take bread home." The old woman lowered herself slowly. "People are talking," she murmured, "but the tone is different." Amara smiled without triumph. "Let them talk." That evening, as a generator hummed and firewood crackled, she counted the day's cash with Miriam, her new bookkeeper. "We need a small van by Christmas," Miriam said. "The tricycle is overworking." Amara nodded, mind racing with supply routes and wholesale margins. She glanced at Chike across the yard, alone, staring at his phone. Her crown felt light on her head but heavy on her heart. What is victory if the person you love fears its weight? She walked over, slid her fingers into his. "Dim, this crown sits on both our heads. Rest with me under it." He looked at her, then away. "I'm trying." The bakery lights glowed like lanterns in the dark. Outside the gate, a group of boys chanted, "Queen's loaf, Queen's loaf." The bride they pitied was becoming the woman they queued for, and the family they mocked now ate from her table. The next weeks exposed a crack in the clay. Chike did a clinic run but came back late, muttering about traffic that didn't exist in a one-road village. He avoided payroll meetings, withdrew from friendly banter with staff, and started lingering again at the palm wine joint after deliveries. One afternoon, Amara found 2 crates still on the tricycle. These were for the school. "Why are they here?" "I forgot," he said, rubbing his neck. "The headmaster wasn't around." "Headmaster or no headmaster, the children need lunch." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were glass. "Please, go back now." He didn't move. "Amara, I am not your boy." She swallowed. "You are not. You are my husband, and this business is ours." That night she visited Reverend Ezenwa. "He is drowning. Father, not in drink." She paused. "In shame." The Reverend steepled his fingers. A man who measures his worth by being taller than his wife will always feel short. Offer him a ladder that is his. "What ladder?" "Responsibility that is not shadowed by you. A space where his yes matters." The next morning, Amara found Chike by the goat pen he had abandoned. "I want you to lead procurement," she said. "Flour, yeast, salt, bags, fuel, everything. Negotiate prices. Build relationships. Bring me monthly reports. You'll have authority to say no to bad deals." "Me? Procurement?" He laughed dryly. "What do I know about that?" "Enough to learn, and I will not stand over you." He shrugged. "We'll see." For a week, he tried. He bargained hard with a flour supplier, arranged bulk salt at a discount, even fixed a fuel schedule that saved them waste. Amara praised him publicly. The staff clapped. Chike's shoulders straightened until the old chorus rose again at the joint. "So NA's spreadsheet make you man again." "Bread husband." He snapped, slammed his cup down, and barked, "If I slap you." A scuffle broke out. Someone filmed it. That night, a grainy clip circulated on WhatsApp. "Bakery husband fights a joint." The comments were cruel. Shame returned, darker. He came home late, eyes glazed. "I'm tired, Amara." "Then rest," she said softly. "Not in palm wine. Rest in me." He looked away. "Sometimes I think you don't need me." It tore something inside her. "I need you more than this bakery. But I cannot shrink so you feel tall." Silence widened between them. In the morning, someone had writing on the bakery wall, "Queen without a king." Amara wiped it with a rag until her palms hurt. She kept the rag, a small flag of warning. The village had changed its tone, yes, but not its taste for blood. The summons came on a Sunday family meeting. Compound, 4 o'clock. Amara wore a modest anchor and tied her scarf low. Chaik walked beside her like a man going to receive judgment. Uncle Obinna, the loudest voice in every room, sat in the plastic chair like a throne. The elders lined both sides. As Amara and Chaik sat, Obinna cleared his throat theatrically. "We called this meeting because things are no longer as they should be," he intoned. "A husband is the head, but we hear the wife is the head, the neck, and even the cap." Laughter. A few men slapped their knees. Chaik's jaw tightened. Obinna continued, "Our brother is becoming a woman. He is now Ogre Apron." The room erupted again. Amara's hands were steady on her lap. "Naam," she began, with respect. "Ei." She has started. Obinna scoffed. "See how she will speak English now." An elder, quiet and tired of foolishness, raised a palm. "Let her talk." Amara faced them. "When we were hungry, you did not call a meeting. When the roof leaked on our heads, you did not call a meeting. When he borrowed money and goats died, I paid the debt. You did not call a meeting to say thank you. But now that God has given us work and a way to feed not only our home but yours, you call a meeting to shame the man I love." A hushed murmur traveled around the room. She turned to Chaik. "I will not let anyone shrink you. Not them, not me. But true leadership isn't noise, it is service." Obinna snorted. "Talk is cheap. Bring money if you want respect." Amara reached into a bag and placed an envelope on the table. "This is for the roof of the family house that has been leaking for 3 years. Labors will start tomorrow under my supervision. Also, I have set aside money for Junei's school fees. He should not drop out." Obinna's face softened, then hardened again. "You are trying to buy us." "Respect is earned," Amara replied evenly, "but care is given." The elder tapped the table. "Enough. This woman has brought honor to our name. You don't like that she shines brighter than your expectations? Wear sunglasses." Snickers, even a small laugh from the corner. As they rose to leave, a cousin sidled up to Amara. "Auntie, I recorded everything," he whispered, showing her phone. The clip already had views. Uncle shamed. Woman speaks truth. Obinna glared when he noticed. "Delete that." Outside, under the almond tree, Chaik leaned against a wall, breathing shallow. "I felt like a boy in there." "You are a man," she said, touching his cheek. "A good one. We will fix the roof together." She didn't add, "even if I pay again." Love was not an invoice. It was an investment. As they walked home, the evening wind carried a different buzz. Some eyes softened, others narrowed. Power unsettles dust and draws footprints toward it, both friendly and foul. The letter came on clean letterhead. Lagos Food and Trade Expo. Invitation to exhibit. Chief Okafor's card was clipped to it with a note. "Your bread belongs on bigger tables." Preparation felt like war. Miriam assembled receipts, staff rosters, and cost sheets. Amara met a local consultant who explained NAFDAC registration, labeling regulations, and shelf life testing. "Big supermarkets won't stock you without this," he said. "How long?" "Faster if your paperwork is clean. We'll begin now." At night, Amara practiced her pitch in front of a cracked mirror. "Queen's loaf is soft, affordable, and honest. We bake with clean water, measure with digital scales, and source from vetted suppliers. We have zero credit policy at retail to avoid cash flow traps. We are small, but we are disciplined." Chaik listened from the bed, half proud, half haunted. "You sound like Lagos already." In Lagos, the expo hall roared. Neon banners, booths with glossy samples, buyers in crisp shirts moving with lists and deadlines. Amara's stand looked simple. White cloth, 2 baskets, a roll-up banner with a crown logo on the line. "Eat like royalty." People came. A food blogger filmed a quick tasting. "This bread slaps." A supermarket buyer from Suilir took her number. A distributor from Abiyakuta leaned in. "Your price is low for quality. Can you supply 1,000 loaves weekly?" "Not yet," Amara said, refusing to lie. We can ramp to 600 in 6 weeks if we add a second oven and a bigger mixer. He smiled. Honesty is rare. Send me a plan. By afternoon, Chief Okafor arrived with a woman in a Navy suit. This is Kimi, procurement lead for a chain that starts with S and ends with upper market. Kimi shook hands like contracts. We don't promise quickly, she said, scanning Amara's labels, but we multiply carefully. Bring me samples for shelf life. If you pass, we sign a pilot for 3 stores, Yaba, Akoka, Magodo. Amara's heart thudded. Thank you. Also, Kimi added, we pay on 30-day terms. Can you survive? We'll prepare. Cash flow math flashed in Amara's mind. Flour on Monday, payroll Friday, power daily, payment in 30 days, survivable only with savings and discipline. That night in the cheap hotel, she and Miriam spread documents on the bed. We'll need a generator that won't faint, Miriam said, circling numbers. And your husband must lock down suppliers. No stockouts. Amara texted Chaik, we may get a pilot. Your procurement work is key now. He typed, proud of you. Then erased it. Typed again. We move. She read it and smiled. It wasn't poetry, but it was partnership. They returned home with new labels, a tentative MAL, and a list title before Lagos pilot. Register NAVDAC. Buy second oven. Recruit night shift. Train on hygiene. Lock flour contract. Open business account at a real bank. The road was long, but it was paved. As she pinned the list on the bakery wall, staff gathered, wide-eyed. Lagos. Ngozi whispered, Madam, this bread is going to television. Amara laughed. We're going to people's breakfast tables. That's better than TV. But even television has shadows. Somewhere in the village, a jealous trio plotted. If we cannot match her, we will muddy her. Their whispers move like smoke toward a fire they hope to choke. The day Amara returned from Lagos, the village looked different, not because it had changed, but because she had. 2 used SUVs rolled in front, loaned by Chief Okafor for logistics runs, and a small, second-hand van with Queen's loaf stenciled on the side caught behind them like a proud old dog. Children ran after the convoy. Phone cameras popped like firecrackers. Is that Amara? Queen Amara, the kid shouted, mangling it into Queen Amara. She stepped out in a simple ivory blouse and wrapper, no heavy gold, just confidence soft as butter and sharp as a knife. The first person she hugged was Mama Ife. The second was Miriam's baby. The third was a mother-in-law, who trembled as Amara placed a loaf in her hands. At the square, the chairman of the Traders' Union had arranged a small welcome. Drummers beat, women ululated, and a pastor prayed. Amara took the microphone. I left this village with bread and returned with a bigger oven, she said, smiling. Laughter warmed the air. But hear me, success is not a convoy. It is a community that refuses to starve. She announced 3 things: a Queen's Women Fund, micro-grant for market women to grow stalls, a bakery school Saturdays, free training for girls, and a breakfast pledge. Every public school child in the village would get a small loaf on Mondays. The cheer was thunderous. Even men who mocked wiped their eyes discreetly. Somewhere near the back, Chaik watched, chest tight. Pride swelled, then fear nipped at it. Would he always be the second line in this song? Amara turned to him. My husband is the spine of our supply, she said into the MIC. If you eat on time, thank him. Applause rolled. Chaik lifted a hand, half shy, half blooming. In that moment he felt seen, not as the bread husband, but as a man anchoring a ship others celebrated. After the ceremony, they walked home through petals, cheap paper confetti cut by schoolchildren. Neen, you did well, an elder said, patting her shoulder. Your parents will live long. That night, the yard glowed. Staff danced. Firewood crackled, and trays of experimental buns disappeared into happy mouths. Amara and Chaik slipped away to the goat pen, now empty but for a bench. Thank you, he said, voice low, for not letting them write my story for me. She tucked her head onto his shoulder. We write together. In the soft dark, he whispered, let me handle the flour contract for Lagos. I'll go to Aba myself. Go with Oki, she said. 2 signatures. No shortcuts. They laughed quietly, the kind of laughter that says we survived one valley, we'll survive the next. From the gate, the chant rose again. Queen's loaf, Queen's loaf. This time with a rhythm-like blessing. Across the road, a shadow peeled away from a wall. A man muttered into his phone. She just announced free loaves to schools. Perfect. We'll say the bread made children sick. Print flyers by Sunday. Post on Facebook groups. Add voice notes. Fear spreads faster than flour. He slipped into the night as the bakery lights winked off, and Amara leaned into her husband, unaware that the crown she'd polished that day had already been chosen as a target. The rumors came like smoke before fire. First a whisper. Children at the primary school felt stomach pain after eating Queen's loaf. Then a WhatsApp broadcast. Avoid bread from the new bakery. Unsafe for kids. Within hours, Facebook posts with fake photos of moldy bread went viral. Mothers panicked. Shops held back orders. The line outside the bakery vanished. Inside, Amara stood frozen as sacks of flour remained unopened. Staff whispered, worried. Miriam handed her a flyer someone slid under the gate. Queen's loaf is poison. Save your children. Her chest tightened. She knew it was sabotage, but the damage was instant. Tyke stormed in, face pale. Amara, the union chairman, just called. Parents are protesting. The school canceled the Monday pledge. What? But none of the bread was bad. They don't care. Fear is stronger than facts. By evening, the once busy bakery was silent. Staff begged for reassurance. Amara forced a smile, though inside she felt gutted. Go home. I will fix this. That night, Tyke sat in the dark, a bottle by his side. Maybe this is a sign, he muttered. We flew too high. The gods are angry. Amara knelt, gripping his hands. Don't speak like that. We are not cursed. We are attacked. If you collapse now, what will I stand on? Tears stung her eyes. Tyke pulled away, ashamed. I am tired, Amara. Too tired to fight. For the first time since a wedding, Amara felt alone, the weight of a collapsing husband and a crumbling business pressing down. She prayed silently. God, they want to bury me in shame. But even in the grave, seeds rise. If you gave me this crown, don't let it fall. The culprits revealed themselves by mistake. Ngozi, one of the bakery girls, overheard two rival traders in the market bragging. See how people fear that bread now. Our yam flour will sell again. Ha! One Facebook post, one doctored photo, and the Queen's crown begins to crack. Ngozi ran breathlessly to Amara with the news. Amara clenched her fist but stayed calm. Thank you. Leave the rest to me. The next morning, Amara walked into the magistrate's office with evidence. Miriam had already traced a fake post to a cyber cave in town. She printed screenshots, collected affidavits from parents, and even had the school nurse confirm no child had actually been poisoned. Court hearings began. The traders sneered, thinking she would tire. But Amara arrived every session in clean lace, files in hand, dignity unbroken. At the market, people began to shift. Some whispered, maybe she was framed. Others said, she fights with facts, not tears. Finally, the magistrate ruled in her favor. The traders were fined, and a public notice was issued. Queen's loaf is safe. Sabotage confirmed. Amara didn't celebrate with fireworks. Instead, she stood before her staff, raised a loaf high, and said, This bread is not mine. It belongs to truth, and truth does not rot. Customers slowly returned. The line grew again, and the crown, once cracked, gleamed brighter because it had survived fire. Weeks later, a messenger from the palace arrived. Her Majesty the Queen Mother and His Royal Highness the Ig request your presence at the new Yam Festival. The courtyard was filled with dignitaries, chiefs, and village elders. Amara entered, head high, wearing a deep blue wrapper with gold embroidery. Tyke walked beside her, dressed in white senator attire, restored in posture. Drums rolled. The Ig rose, holding a carved staff. When a woman lifts a family, she lifts a village. When she feeds children, she feeds tomorrow. Today, we honor Amara, not just as wife of Tyke, but as Ada Ugondiala, the daughter who brought honor to the land. A beaded crown was placed on her head, not royal, but symbolic. The crowd erupted in cheers. Women ululated. Even those who once mocked knelt to greet her. Uncle Obinna, red-faced, shuffled forward. Mwam, forgive my words that day. We did not see what God planted. Amara looked at him calmly. I forgave you the moment you spoke. But remember, laughter at another's fall can choke when God lifts them. The palace dancers encircled her, chanting. She stood still, heart-pounding. The bride they pitied was now crowned before the same mouths that once mocked her, and the weight of respect felt heavier and holier than gold. Chaik changed after the coronation. Gone was the man shrinking in shame. He took full charge of procurement, traveling to Aba, Onitsha, and Owerri to secure contracts. He returned with trucks of flour, carefully documented, receipts intact. One evening, he laid papers on Amara's desk. Hey! A 6-month supply locked at discount, enough to survive even if Lagos delays payments. Amara stared at him, eyes misting. This is a latter Reverend spoke about. He smiled faintly. Maybe I just stopped listening to drunk men. At home, he repaired the goat pen, not for goat but as a quiet garden where he and Amara could sit in the evenings. They prayed together, laughed again, even planned children. The villagers noticed. No longer did they call him bread husband. Instead, they greeted chief supplier. Amara and Chaik became a pair admired, not pitied. She the queen of bread, he the backbone of supply. Their union, once mocked, was now a story parents told daughters. Do not despise humble beginnings. The Lagos pilot was a success. Within months, Queen's Loaf was on shelves in Surulere, Akoka, and Magodo. The brand slogan, Eat Like Royalty, became a catchphrase. TV stations interviewed Amara. Newspapers ran features, from Pitted Bride to Bread Queen. At the grand opening of her Lagos factory, dignitaries, investors, and villagers attended. Cameras flashed. Journalists crowded around. A reporter asked, Madam Amara, what is your message to young women who face mockery and pity like you once did? She smiled, adjusting the microphone. Her voice was steady, regal. When they pitied me as a bride, I learned pity is not destiny. When they mocked me, I discovered laughter cannot stop vision. Today, I am not just a wife. I am not just a baker. I am a queen, not because they crowned me, but because I refuse to bow to pity. And queens are feared because they rise where others fall. The hall thundered with applause. Chaik stepped forward, taking her hand, pride shining in his eyes. That night, as the convoy returned to the village, children lined the road chanting, Queen Amara, Queen Amara. And as she stood at her balcony, overlooking the bakery lights flickering in the night, she whispered to herself, They pitied the bride, but they now bow to the queen. The story was complete. The circle had closed. What began in laughter ended in awe.